My name is Ashley Rose Blanchette, and if you are able and choose to, please stand with me for our time of affirmation. We don't have slides today, so we have placed the affirmations and the purpose statement in your bulletin, so you can pull those out now to follow along. I tune in to the vibrational frequency of infinite expansion that is within me now. I am fulfilling my destiny by effortlessly giving and receiving love. I am ever expanding yet whole. I fully release with great love all feelings of discontent that I hold in my consciousness. I listen, pay attention, and honor my innate wisdom. I change the world around me by changing myself. I choose beliefs and set daily intentions that magnetize health, joy, and fulfillment. I choose to surround myself with people and things that reflect my positive energy and vitality. I create everything I want with energy.
Well, I have the honor of introducing our very own Dr. LeTa Jussila, who's going to bring us the message, and I have a little bio on her right here. She is a doctor of acupuncture and oriental medicine. She's an inner light practitioner and board member, and has been an active part of our community for the past 13 years. She has a medical practice in downtown Santa Cruz, as well as an online telehealth practice. You can find her teaching outdoor fitness at the beach, instructing students at the local medical school, and more recently, empowering patients through the education classes on the health benefits of cannabis. Dr. LeTa, she didn't mention she plays violin.
She did.
Yes, I know.
Yeah.
So that was really sweet. So Dr. LeTa.
Thank you. So after when we go into prayer, and then you can play for us. Yeah. Good morning. Good morning.
How are we doing?
Good.
Rev D wanted me to remind you that even though we don't have power, we are powerful beyond measure. She's like, remind them of that. So the theme has been expansion this month. And when she asked me what my title is, the only thing I really could think of how do we get to the place of expanding ourselves is really going within. And I'm going to speak to you today from just what I know. As Sasha said, I have a degree in Oriental medicine, and everyone knows about Taoism. You've heard about Taoism? So I want to speak from that, because that's really what my life has been. My best friend was Catholic growing up, and she would always go to church on Sunday, and I asked my mom, why don't we do that? And she said, the closest you'll get to understanding God is in nature. And every Sunday we would go out on the beach. We would have a scout, and where I'm from in Cape Cod, you could drive the vehicle on the beach, and we would have breakfast and spend all day out there, sometimes with other families. But when I would sleep over at my best friend's house on Saturday night, I'd get to go to church with her, and I thought that was obviously really cool. But in hindsight, my mom would say, no offense, but you're not going to learn about God from a white man in a robe standing there preaching to you. And, I've been in this community for a long time, and I understand what she was trying to get at, but I do appreciate that she allowed me to spend so much time outside. I'm telling from the age in this room, most of us grew up outside. We didn't have smartphones, we didn't have computers. And there's something about connecting with nature. The ocean can handle anything. So one of the things, if we step back a minute, I wanted to speak about is how did this all start? Because in Chinese medicine and in Taoism, it's one of those emperors, I think it was around 2400 BC, he ordered, right? That's what they did back then. He ordered, let's figure this thing out. Let's study the solar cycles, the 4 solar cycles. Let's study nature. Let's study the way animals congregate, the patterns. And from there, he was really trying to figure out when to plant crops. That was the main thing. And so what he found he identified the solstice and he identified the equinox. Okay, and from there, he could distinctly see 6 environmental conditions, which births to 5 seasons. And I'll tell you why this is important. So the 6 environmental factors that he studied and we study in Chinese medicine are wind. So we're obviously feeling a lot of that right now. Mm-hmm. Heat, dampness. Some of us feel that here in Santa Cruz. Fire, dryness, dry and cold. So when we study these environmental factors, it's, the simplicity is how are we in balance with our surroundings, with nature? And it's a metaphor. Do you have coldness? Some of us having coldness this morning. You're noticing in the autumn, dryness. Are you guys noticing a little bit more dryness happening, right? What happens is that if you have too much of something, you have excess. And so what we're trying to do with anything is balance. Rev D talks about this all the time. A time to go within, a time to be out in the world, a time to run, a time to sit still and rest. So we're constantly trying to find what we call that equilibrium homeostasis. So when we're studying these elements, the 5 elements, they correspond to 5 seasons. And so you probably have heard, living in Santa Cruz, eat with the seasons, right? So one of the seasons, that we're in now is the autumn. Yes?
I just have a request because of no microphone. When you go this way and that way, like windshield wipers, when you're the other direction, it's harder.
Oh, got it. Okay, I'll project maybe here. Yeah, I love that. I've never had someone say I'm talking too quietly. So we have, let me just go through the 5 elements because I think it would be useful. So first is we have in the springtime is the wood element, okay? Birthing, budding, sprouting, right? Energy's coming out, right? So we're out, we're planting, everyone loves the springtime, the energy's bubbling up. Then we have where the energy is the most yang, which is the sun time, which is summer. That's fire, heat. Then we have what? Earth, late summer we call it. So that heat wave, that's late earth. It's a very distinct season in Chinese medicine. Okay, it's that season in between summer where you think it's amazingly hot, but then it goes to earth. That's the soil, the transformation time period before metal, the harvest, which is the autumn, which we're in now. Okay, and then we go into winter, which is all about storage. So even just knowing how the cycles go with the seasons, you'll understand which foods are appropriate to be eating to provide nourishment. Why do we care about this? Very simply is that when you're eating root vegetables, sub-earth, what do? They help you become grounded in your body, right? Sometimes we need fast energy, seeds, right? Nuts, we just munch on things. So every food has its property, okay? So one of the things that I do in my work is to not ask myself, why does X cause Y? It's more about relationship. And that brings me to the relationship within. So when we're looking at you, when you're thinking about yourself here, and you have a goal, you want to be here, whether it's you want a different work, you want a different relationship, you want to feel differently, I want you to think about, we actually said this in prayer this morning, is your relationship to that, okay? Let me say it in a little bit different way. We have yin and yang, okay? So yang is out in the world, it's activity, it's movement. Yin is what? Stillness, okay? Cold, darkness, lack of light, okay? So if you want to change your relationship and expand and be out in the world, what do you have to do? You have to start within, okay? When you're standing on Monterey Bay and you project out in the ocean and you go all the way down to the bottom, it's black and it's still. That's the place you must go within yourself. You have to slow down so much, your thoughts and your body, uncomfortably, to get to that place where you can dissolve. Not the shoulds, not the who I am in the world, the personality, the definitions of, the names of who you are, but the essence, because we have true nature. Taoism is about how do we get back to your true nature. And when you can get to that stillness and forget who you are, Joe Dispenza talks about that. Nothingness, no thing, no body. Chinese medicine and Taoism is no different. If we can cultivate you to get to that place, there's nothing to think about, there's nothing to do. There's more of an allowing. So in the winter, in the water element, it provides wisdom. Because when you speak...
Could you speak louder? Because I can't hear you.
Okay, coming closer. Yeah, come closer. So it's about relaxing into your original chi. We call it, what's our goal in Chinese medicine? For you to be relaxed but energized, right? Peaceful and calm but joyous, present, energy, chi behind the shen. So part of what we're doing right now is you'll notice with the autumn, the light has changed. I call it embracing the power of pause, right? Slowing down enough to churn. It's like late earth, right? It's like we're churning, we're transforming that energy, that connection that we got from summer. Because in summer, we're out in the world, we're connecting with people. We have so much fire from the sun that we feel motivated to be out, right? It's bubbly, you get energy from other people. But at this point, where do you get your energy from? From rest. Is anyone a runner in here? One of the most things that runners know now is they're gonna get faster by resting, okay? That's where they actually get faster, is in the rest. When you become yin and still, that's when you develop your internal chi. This is just universal law. So if I took this pen and I release my hands, we all know the pen's gonna drop. We know that's a law. There are so many beautiful, simply universal laws that, Rev D talks about it. You can't make the river go in a different direction, right? You think you're maybe that powerful, but you're not. We have to be in relationship with these universal laws, these universal truths. So let's relate it to you. So, being busy is a cultural epidemic. I love the power of technology. I'm ruled by Mercury in Gemini, and so I'm an air sign. So I have a few notes just to keep me on track. But, we do overstuff our life with these things, external to-do lists. And I believe that people come into my practice so I can remind them that the only thing that they really can control and change, and what should you focus on, is yourself. Is to really, to center within. So, do you guys know Friedrich Nietzsche? I might be saying his name wrong. He says, there is more wisdom in your body than the deepest philosophy. And I'm here to remind you today about I want to give you some actual practical things to do to get you to understand that this is your greatest instrument. You might be able to play piano and guitar and amazing instruments, but We have to learn how to use this instrument, how to fine tune it, how to calibrate it. You know, Etienne, he tunes his bass before playing it. Do we get in attunement, our heart coherence, right? Do we get into that vibration? You know, I'm a business owner, small business owner, and what happens is that once I can get into what excites me, what lifts me up, that creative energy, think of creation energy. Then when it comes through you, there's no effort. It's effortless power, right? Water, you know, when you study nature, I'm here to remind you, just look at water, how it meanders around the earth. It's finding the path of least resistance. There's a time for it to trickle, and there's a time where it catches some speed and catches some power. And if you understand how to get out of your own way with the thoughts, with the doing, and more into the body and the being, and you can do that with foods, oh man, it's really, really beautiful. So, yeah, I one of the first things I remind new patients is that because of the screen culture we're on, most of us are living from the neck up. You know, we forget we have this body. We forget that we have this innate intelligence. You know, if you don't know, I'm not going to speak about it today, but if you don't know about this amazing wiring system of receptors called the endocannabinoid system, it is a system that is adapting. It's learning how to help you course correct different patterns, different habituations. And the first thing and the only thing you can do to change the wiring, the software update for the hardware update is what? Try new things, try new foods, watch different things, listen to different things, drive a different way, talk to different people, you know, read things that you may never read. You know, when you're on Netflix, try something different. You will literally surprise yourself at the enjoyment, So part of this, the way out, if you really want to be out in the world, and we all do, you have gifts. If your eyes are open, hopefully you're realizing there's urgency to give your gifts. But this time right now to cultivate, you know, as Michael said, you know, things might be continuing to unfold. He said fall apart. But resting will recalibrate. We call it renewing stillness. There's so much energy. If you give yourself sufficient rest, the way forward is going to be effortless. So part of what we do in yoga, in qigong, in mindfulness and breath practices is we explore our inner life in the resources. Because when you are efforting, it's not sustainable. You know, Michael talked about it last weekend, Reverend Michael, about if we're engaging in renewable sources, there's enough. There's no fights, there's no wars. There's only wars and battles around things that are not sustainable, like oil. There's not enoughness with that, right? Very similar to the body. You have access to what? Chi, breath. Breath is available, and it's a free resource. It's a free resource. And I want to speak about breath for a moment, because it is one of the fundamental things, if you hear anything from me today. Natural breathing, if you've taken one of my Qigong classes, you'll know. I want to remind you that you have so many resources within you that you're not utilizing. Most of us, we know we're chest breathers, okay? We also, to remind you, we have the hypochondriac region, the sides. So one of the things to be able to access these resources is to engage your abs, so you're forcing your breath in your palms, right? We have the belly breathing. We also have the kidney breathing, okay? So if you take your hands over your kidneys and breathe into the palms, okay? You can rub your hands together, create some warmth. So breathing into the lungs, breathing into the chest, the ribs, right? The belly, the kidneys. It's whole body breathing. We call it natural breathing. This is the way we were born. You know, a baby breathes this way. You know, why is this important? Why am I talking about breath? First of all, it's available to everybody, regardless of anything. It's always available to you. But more importantly, it literally can transform emotional state and mental state within seconds. We think that, Rev D reminds us a lot, life isn't happening to us, it's through us. Okay? When you breathe in, your lungs, what are you doing? If you don't breathe in, the body won't be alive. You're breathing in life. So in Chinese medicine, the autumn, this is apropos, the autumn has to do with the lungs. So this is the time to, you know, recognize and receive the grace bestowed upon your life through the breath. Lungs is about getting in touch with your worth, right? Metal, I mentioned it's the metal element, right? Gold. What is your worth? What is your self-esteem? So I have you have an ability to balance your emotions. So anytime that you're thinking that something you're seeing, and of course we're naming our experience, doesn't resonate, there's an incoherence with your heart, some intrepidation, some anxiety, some worry, some fear, the best thing and the fastest thing to change and pivot is the breath. So ask yourself when you go through your day, do I need to breathe in my lungs, my ribs, my belly, my kidneys? And I can teach you how to do that. First of all, when you feel connected, disconnected to God, breathe into the lungs, okay? When you feel disconnected from your center, breathe into the belly. When you feel disconnected to who you are and the vision, the legacy of you, breathe into the rib cage, okay? And the last one is the kidneys. This is the adrenals. When you're feeling low energy, when you're feeling like you're weary, you can't go on, breathe into the kidneys. And that's a real simple way of saying it. Because you have access to everything you need within. So, one of the things I notice with people is that we don't learn about our bodies. The one thing we need to know about in this world and in this life is to figure out how this machine works. Have you ever had a moment where you touch your hand or your elbow or your thigh and you felt something different? You felt a different emotion? Have you ever had a healer work on you and you instantly maybe cried? You know, especially acupuncture. So there is a clock, a Chinese clock, and every 2 hours, your chi, your energy is running in a different meridian. And what does that mean? You have different resources available to you every 2 hours. I've said this before, you know, you might feel kind of not that great in the morning, but in the afternoon, your whole day's turned around. So right now, 11 a.m., guess where the energy is? In your heart meridian. Don't you think it's kind of auspicious that people are gathering all over the world during the heart time, right? So one of the acupuncture points, I want to teach you a couple because I think they're very interesting for you to know about cultivating this yin. If you were to take your middle finger and put it right in the middle of your armpit, there's an acupuncture point. It's the first point on the heart meridian, and it's called utmost source. And when do we needle this point? Well, it's when we feel disconnected from source. It's when we're weary. Part of the metaphor is you're standing alongside a cliff and you're disconnected from God, but you feel like you can't go on and you jump. And slowly your feet land on the ground and you open your eyes and you realize an angel has come and put her arms under your armpits and lowered you to the ground. And that's when we needle this point. So what's interesting is that acupuncture points are just literally, well, they're synapses, but literally just points of contact for you as a map of the stars, but to bring you back to balance, reconnection with yourself. So somewhere along the way, you've leaked energy or you're blocking energy. And we're just wanting to reconnect that, okay? So there's another point right inside the wrist. It's about an inch up. It's called heart 4. It's the 4th acupuncture point on the heart meridian, but it's called spirit path. And the reason I bring this up, I wanted to share with you a couple heart points, is because we need to this point when you are kind of stuck in the mundane things of life. Worries, anxieties, you're kind of off track, disconnected. It's actually the metal point on the heart meridian. And remember, metal is connection to God. So somehow you have lacked this warmth on the heart channel in the meridian because of your disconnection to God. So we use when there's kind of a paralysis of your senses. It keeps, it's about an inch inside on the pinky. And you can rub that, but it keeps your heart aligned with your purpose because the lung gives you the connection to the heavenly chi. And then if you go up just about a centimeter, then this is called penetrating inside. And this is when you need a front row seat to God. It's like a private meeting with the king. Okay, it's a direct portal. And this allows you to get to know the God within, the spirit within. And so this whole channel is the heart channel, but each point, even like a centimeter off, has a different entryway to be able to hold you in the ways that you need it in order to reconnect. So for this point, it creates a very intimate connection with God because it reminds you that you have that within you. When you're not connected to yourself, you can't be connected with anyone else, but you have to get uncomfortable to get that intimate connection with you. Because sometimes we don't want to figure out or see or hear what's going on. So with this one, it penetrates past your facade of what? Your title, your addiction, your personality, or your behavior. So who you are in the world. So for someone who's holding back, you see their exterior, you think it's perfect, but there is a rotting within, we call it. So it literally allows you to have deeper contact so you can really know what's going on in your life. And again, if you can facilitate on your own the stillness, then you don't have to go and work with a healer. But healers, modalities exist for when you don't have access to this. So in Chinese medicine, what they did is, again, studying the animals, studying the cycles, studying the patterns. You're just a map of this. We are literally a map of the cosmos, right? And we are vibrating in relationship with Mother Earth, with the stars, with the moons and the cycles of the tides. So when you feel disconnected, when you're feeling a predominant emotion, that's telling us what? That you're just not in balance. And the way to nourish you, the way, for instance, right now in the metal element, there's a lot of lung issues. Have you guys noticed friends and family in the community, they're coughing, there's a lot of phlegm and mucus, sinus. This happens in the metal season, which is the autumn, because it has to do with the lungs. But emotionally, it's low self-esteem, lack of self-worth that I mentioned, right? Not feeling the connection. So the best way to do that in Chinese medicine is to nourish Mother Earth, which is to figure out how to feel nourished, okay? So the fastest way is bringing it back to the breath, okay?
After the service, could you tell me where you're going to move to?
Sorry. So let me transition. I have a couple more notes. So you guys know William Blake? So he said there's a crack in everything that God made. Okay? And a crack is in your life is the place where not only just cracking your heart wide open, but it's where something more meaningful can enter. Okay? The little thin wrapping over the heart is the pericardium. It's the heart protector. In China, if you were to want to talk to the emperor, there's usually a pretty stoic guy outside, usually a general, and he says, "What do you want with the king?" You have that in you. When you meet someone, "What do you want with my heart?" "I'm not sure if I'm going to let you in." Right? So you want a natural pericardium. You want a natural heart protector. So I'm giving you these little nuances to realize that everything within you, every pathology, every personality, every emotion is guiding you into how you're being. And you can transition that. You can transition it with breath, with perspective. God is giving you the change of light. It's having you slow down to have stillness until we get to the dead of winter, to this winter solstice, to where everything stops for a moment. That's why in yoga, sometimes they have you hold your breath at the top. And it's like, I know this sounds very simple, but if you were able to cultivate a breath practice, deeper breaths, we say this all the time here at church. A superficial breathing ensures a superficial experience of yourself in life. Really simple. We complicate things. So how do we get back to our center? Okay, so in Chinese medicine, the earth is our center. Our belly, our midsection is our center. One of the most prominent things in Chinese medicine is to touch your belly with breath. How often are we touching our belly? This is where it all begins. Your mom fed you through the umbilical cord. We snipped the umbilical cord and now we're fed by Mother Earth. That's our nourishment, okay? And so in Chinese medicine, we have actually this modality called Qi Nei San. It's when a practitioner presses on your belly and allows you to untangle the knots, untangle the blockages. Why do they say don't eat before yoga? Because you need to be empty in order to receive. We empty out our minds with meditation. Very similar. So when you're wanting nourishment, what do we do first? We go to food. We don't need to go to food. Is that the nourishment we really need? Right? How can we, I always say get rid of the furniture and then let's buy new furniture. All these things are the same thing, they're just different, looks different. So when you're wanting to be fed and nourished, maybe don't go to food first. Maybe sit for a while. Is it a connection within me? Is it a connection with someone? Okay? So it starts with the center. It starts with the center. So we take about, in our waking life, do you guys know how many breaths we do a day? About 15,000. What if just a small percentage of those breaths were natural breathing? Were you able to access the liver that gives you vision and the gallbladder that gives you courage to follow that vision? If you were to access the grace bestowed upon your life, connecting to God. If you were to access the belly, the root of who you are, your lineage, your legacy, your mom, your umbilical cord, right? Your access, your will, the kidney, right? This is available in an instant. So I have a couple last thoughts before I close. So if I were to leave you with anything, the way to expand, as Rev D talks about, I believe is to cultivate within. I believe this is the moments where we look outside of ourselves, especially with smartphones, and we're looking at other people's lives. My only wish for all of us is to really figure out what makes this machine, this instrument play. And the goal is to play what makes your heart sing. What is that for you? And one of the things I always ask patients is, what do you think about during the day? What lays on your heart? Because you're thinking about something different than someone else. We all see things differently. And if we were all to congregate around those one things, we call it networks of grace. You have the people that are fighting for domestic violence and the people that are fighting for, social justice. It's like, what's that thing, that burning thing that on your heart that you want to continue to be out in the world? But in order to get there, a lot of people come in, I don't know who I am, I'm not sure what I should do with my life, my career. The way out in the world is in. So, I think Rev D said this. No, I think Michael said this. If we showed you the path, you probably wouldn't say yes. So Viktor Frankl, one of my favorites, he says, if you have a why to live, you can bear with almost any how, right? So one of the tricks I can teach you in Chinese medicine, that an hour in the morning is like having 2 hours in the afternoon because of the energy that's available to you in the morning. So most of us, you can be way more productive in the morning. So that's a secret. If you have something to really do with mental energy and clarity, do it in the hard time. Do it when you're completely connected. You got energy. It's like having wind at your back. And always start your day with value. This is the metal element. This is value. If you're out of alignment, out of integrity with your values, if one of your values is love, connection, family, health, and you're not participating in that. So start your day with value. It's really a process to look at the words as we're naming our experience. We talk about that a lot. But your words are a bond. We know thoughts are things. And it's not that you don't have time. It's not you're not making the time. Notice that. Notice that discernment. You have enough time. It's what are you choosing to put your time and attention on? What are you also choosing to buy? I always say, if we want to live in a sustainable world, vote with your dollar. That's the power. You think you don't have voting in the booths? You're voting every moment with your dollar. You're voting every moment. You're depositing the frequency with your thoughts. So I think that there's nothing that can deter you from long-term success than an untrained mind. Okay? So I tell patients, you can't manage what you don't measure. Do you want your day to be by default or design? Right? So starting with that intention. And people think that clarity comes from inaction. It actually comes from engagement. When I'm asking you to have stillness, that's engagement. Okay? That's actually doing. Chi is always moving. Even cyclical thinking, chi is still moving. Worrying, you're still moving, you're just not going anywhere. Okay? So the wise person from the Tao is flexible. So if you're finding you're stiff in your body, find flexibility. You'll notice how it changes how you are in life, right? I teach, the last move I do in Qigong is bamboo in the wind. If you know the properties of bamboo, very tough to cut at the roots. Why? Because you don't waver who you are, your values, but the tops sway, you're flexible, you go with the flow, because the only thing constant is change. We know this. I'm not saying anything that you don't know, but when you're cut off from divine source, you forget. You become a person, right? You become your pathology. You develop a strategy, you develop your personality to do things that you think you're supposed to do. So we always go back to the heart. You always go back to the center. As you move towards who you are and your dreams, you move towards divinity. You know, our goal here is to remind each other as in community that we are the lighthouse for one another, for out in the world, when others may seem dark, right? We come here as a home base. I always think of capture the flag, to recharge, to remind us of the truth, that we can just be. You know, it's not about being right, it's about for us to be in relationship. So once you've connected with your inner, once you've connected with what occupies your heart, what are you thinking about, then you're ready to expand out in the world and find similar people that have that same mission, that same legacy, and you figure out where you belong. But the goal of human expression, your chi, very simply, is coming up and out. That's it. So I encourage you to really just feel the range of your human emotion. If you're feeling something, just let it come and out. Don't rate it. If you rate it as good or as bad, it's going to stop right here. It's not going to come in, up and out. It's very simple. So your job is to just experience dynamically, not emotionally flatlined, right? Whatever that is. And if you're feeling bitterness or resentment from the heart, the heart's a muscle, you know? Burn off that lactic acid and let someone else in. Give someone else a try, right? It's just a muscle. You got to get back out there. When you work out and you're sore, the trainer says, get back out there, even if you're sore, right? The body is giving you all the metaphors and wisdom and the poetry that you need to guide you. So I want you out in the world. I want you expanded. I want you being there, because there is urgency for us. And the way to do that is to go with him. Thank you.
Thank you.
everything that we already know, but it's just a reminder. So if I leave you with anything, it's the breath. So let's go ahead and take a breath, and you can choose where you even put your hands on your body. Sometimes we want to put our hands on the body to remind us where to breathe into the palms. So you can pick a spot. So as we take a deep breath, we're recognizing that we want a deeper experience with our life. As we breathe in, we infuse this body temple with spirit. We say yes to you, God. We're reminded that we are connected. As we breathe in and breathe out, we're breathing in the same cells and the same breath as Gandhi, as Mother Teresa. Everyone, we are just one. So I'm knowing in this moment that as we sit in the stillness, as we feel the yin, we feel the coldness, we stop. We stop, we allow. We recognize the place in us that we belong. In this moment, I'm reminded that we have everything we need inside. It's our compass, it's our GPS. And if we just allow it to be our barometer, we will be guided by this inner light that is stoking the fire. So we stay in stillness long enough for it to be clear. For when the Spirit moves us, it physically moves us to go out in the world, but not until then. We know the power of pause, and we just say yes, and we are grateful for this reminder this morning. We are grateful that the lights are out, because we can just tap into the inner light. I'm blessed by this community. We are blessed by Reverend Deborah Johnson. We're grateful for her and this incubator space that allows us to come here on Sunday mornings, to just hold each other up, to see the God in each other. It's so good. It's a time of Thanksgiving. So as we are today, actually at 8:30, we have the moon in Scorpio, the new moon, and the sun is in Scorpio, and it's the time where the veil is thin. So we just allow that to unfold and manifest and recognize within ourselves the yin, the shadow, the deep, watery depths of our soul. Don't be afraid. Have courage. Dig up the muddy waters. So I say to you, thank you, God, for this consciousness. Thank you for these body temples. And we just get out of the way and just allow us to be in the world. Say amen. 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 Michael, you bless us with some music.